Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Myself, Alexandra Schleuderer, the cantorial soloist here at CEHV, and our entire community, welcome. Please join me on 125 of our Siddur. If you do not have a physical copy, please find your way to our virtual tab on our website to find a PDF version. You are welcome to follow along this evening. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, a realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world on this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Page 128. Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh of Harachman. Yedid Nefesh of Harachman. Mishokav Decha. Eretz Sonecha. Mishokav Decha. Lay, 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 lay. On the facing page, Ki Esh Mira Shabbat. When I keep Shabbat, the source watches over me. It is a sign forever between the source and I. Ki Esh Mira Shabbat, Il Yishmereni. Yeshmera Shabbat, Il Yishmereni, Oti Omeyad, Beino Uveini, Oti Omeyad, Beino Uveini, Yeshmera Shabbat, As we begin our Shabbat, please join me on page 138. Here for Lachadodi, it is our tradition to pray verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we bow on the 9th verse, we make ourselves smaller, welcoming all who may want to enter, making room for the divine. Lechadodi, likrat kala, בשלום התרס בעלה, גר בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Page 121. Please join me for our candle lighting. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, it has become our tradition to read the names of essential workers, to honor these people who act not as helpers but as angels amongst us, guiding us. We honor these nurses: Marie Delaparte, Christina Dubois, Teresa Eggers, Teresa Esposito, Lindsay Miller, Jay Montier, Cindy Pomerantz, Joni Savago, Lucinda Siegel, Christina Snell, Amy Staley, Ashley Wallace, Ben Wilder, Elisa Williams. These doctors: Linda Brandon, Amy Kagula, Joe Cohen, Shani David, Elliot Dresnick, Lee Gerson Friedman, Nicholas Friedman, Stephen Grossman, Ilan Haley, Jan Hoyt, Roger Husted, Steve Kaplan, Martin Krakauer, Howard Leifer, Liz Levine, Aaron Daniel Levitt, L. Levitt, Noah Alexander Levitt, Richard Levy, Matthew Lordy, Hannah Mittenberg, Wendy Parrish, Stephen Schwartz, Jonathan Sumber, Andrew Yanowski. These healthcare professionals: Yisrael Aga, Dara Clausen, Bar Levi Romer, Catherine Monsky, Joseph Schwendman, Amy Skorka, Maureen Terranova, Jaron Widham. These first responders, firefighters and law enforcement professionals: Ryan Coletti, Mark Donchek, Steve Fleischer, Don Hughes, Karen Leader, Abe Markovitz, Anthony Schleuder, Russell Seymour, Kahana Skolnick. Education professionals: Sandy Albeli, Cindy Binney, Kara Levine Brenner, Carolyn Cernitsky, Lauren DePola, Molly Levine Hunt, Jim Logan, Tammy Logan, Joanne Miller, Tracy Pollock, Cameron Robb, Lauren Rose, Aaron Swan, Sue Worthman, Karen Zreck, Brett Zuckerman. These social workers and mental health professionals: Andrew Binney, Charlie DeGeorge, Anastasia Duvalionetti, Jenna Lee Fish, Dara Heinlein, Deb Jones, Stephen Kahn, Lauren Petties, Julie Stein-Mikowski, Ty Markle, Sherry Tessler. Grocery staff workers: Jill Smith, Michael Becker, Matthew Wilder. These transportation technicians, mechanics, maintenance professionals: Danny Miller, Mike Brewer, Brian Lestrange. turning to page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharit, Malachi, Malachi Elyon, Mimech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Boechem l'shalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi, Malachi Elyon, Mimech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu l'shalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi, Malachi Elyon, Mimech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Tzitchem l'shalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi, Malachi Elyon, Mimech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu.
Page 145.
Teach me, O source, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, unripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my days be as the one before. Last routine set my ways. Namdeni Elohai, Barich v'hit palel, Lamedat sivtotai, Bracha v'shir halel.
Moving to page 146. We face Jerusalem and call one another to formal worship. 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our source, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the ways on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our source, for whom the evening flows.
Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari v'Aravi.
150. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, the living language that gives its form? On the facing page.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha avta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadta Akein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu uv'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki heim chayinu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yoman v'layla ve'ahavat kol tasir mimenu li'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 152. Judaism is a doing which can be grasped only by the heart.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us courage to say, Adonai, there is one source in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces, though our failings are many and our faults are great. It has been our glory to bear witness to our source, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us to continue to work for the day when nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice, as Yisrael did, singing on the shores of the sea. Sing the song of men and people, joined in understanding and respect, the song of Hashchina's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, a song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai lai yai lai yai lai yai lai 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 yai lai yai lai 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 lai. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedor b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, vokei hayom lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, tehelianu vehamu, tehelianu vehamu. Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Lai 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 lai
Continuing to page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים.
A thought has blown away the marketplace. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. The Sabbath arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי שביעי שבת כולם ישבעו ויתענקו מטובך השבת. וכשביעי רצית בו וקידשת תוך שבת. חמדת ימין אותו קראת השבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. לי 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 יאי לי יאי 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 לי 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 לי
Page 164, facing Jerusalem. The Amidah will continue in whispered prayer through page 180.
תפתח Yehi ratzon imre fiv hagion lebi lefanecha Adonai tzui Shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael amen.
Page 371. We have the opportunity now to open our hearts to those in need of healing in our community. With our ark and our hearts open, we offer healing to Yisrael Aga, David Anderson, Amanda Batista, Susan Bosch, Susan Becker, Jenny Bryant, Tom Burrows, Audrey Cohen, Barbara Cohen, Robert Cook, Adele Corvin, Tyler Corvin, Louis Costello, Bob Davis, John Gautier, Shayna Ginsburg, Joy Gross, Ron Hall, and Anna Hernandez, Darren Jacobs, Judy Jacobs, Seth Kerr, Susan Klamberg, Andrea Klein, Mary Jane Klein, Lou Klein, Lena Ogram, Lee Levine Olea, Paula Markovitz, Reverend Michelle Meach, Joe Michaels, Moshe Yosef, Howard Pellet, Stephanie Payusko, Carla Friedman, Ellie Eilovitz, Tony Rosenstein, Robin Stone, Ellen Vogelov, George Wells, Celeste Jaron, Aaron Jacob, and Zachary Whittam, Ben Wilder, Phyllis Volfield, Gretchen Zimmerman. We offer continued healing to Todd Albailey, Tommy Anderson, Bonnie Amantro, Jen Bennett, Joe Calley, Michael Corvin, Stephen Fye, Cheryl Fitzsimmons, Barbara Gallagher, Francine Glasser, Mark Greenberg, Marcia Hamburg, Valerie Henderson, George Jones, Danny Joseph, Anita Cantor, Heather Kite, Jill Levy-Corley, Charles Lippeman, Naomi Lurie, David Mallon, Joanne Murr, Ann Murkoff, Catherine Nicholson, Navia Newsy, Orly Batsvia Vechaya, Steve Perlmutter, Antoinette Phelan, Lillian Rich Schuster, Dave Rosenthal, Evelyn Rosenthal, Kyle Rothgeb, Barbara Salberg, Henry Sanderson, Shirley Schneider, Deborah Sears, Phil Sears, Sloan Shortley, Michelle Simon, Charles Slutsky, Elaine Trott, Mark Trott, Sandy Weiner, Karen Wilder, Luca Williams, and the Livingston House staff and residents. page 371.
Shabbat Avotinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Shabbat Imotinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with the vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Misha Berach Avotenu, Misha Berach Imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
Let us set the scene for the start of this week's Parsha. At this point in our journey, the children of Yisrael have defeated not one king, but two: Sihon, king of the Amorites, and Og. Balak, the title of our portion this week, is named after the king of Moab at this time. King Balak is intimidated by the recent conquests of the Israelite people and calls on prophet Balaam to put a curse over the Israelites. Chapter 22, verses 5 through 6, we hear King Balak sends a message to Balaam. There is a people that came out of Egypt. It hides the earth from view, and it is settled next to me. Come then, put a curse upon this people for me, since they are too numerous for me. Perhaps I can thus defeat them and drive them out of the land, for I know that he who you bless is blessed indeed, and he who you curse is cursed. When the message arrives, before deciding to accept the request from the king, Balaam decides to sleep on it, awaiting instruction from the Eternal. That night, the Eternal commands Balaam not to journey with the king's men. Balaam sends the dignitaries back. King Balak sends other messengers, more esteemed dignitaries, even more distinguished than the last. Each time, Balaam refuses, saying in chapter 22, verse 18, "Though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not do anything, big or little, contrary to the commands of the Eternal, my God." Eventually, Hashchina comes to Balaam and says in verse 20, "If these envoys have come to you, you may go with them. If these envoys have come to invite you, you may go with them, but whatever I command you, you shall do." So, much to the source's annoyance, Balaam sends out on his she-ass. Yes, on his donkey, a stereotypically dim-witted or simple creature. The source remains incensed and sends an angel, sword in hand, to obstruct Balaam's path. This is immediately recognized by the donkey, and the animal swerves from the path, avoiding the Eternal's angel. This happens again a second time, this time the donkey pressing Balaam's foot against the wall to avoid the angel. Balaam, furious, strikes the animal. The scene concludes with the she-ass resigning to go any further, laying down underneath Balaam, and he continues to beat the animal. And still, Balaam does not see the Eternal before him. So, in chapter 22, verse 28, the Eternal opens the mouth of the donkey. And she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have beat me 3 times?" Balaam said to the ass, "You have made a mockery of me. If I had a sword with me, I'd kill you." The ass said to Balaam, "Look, I am in the ass that you have been riding along until this day. Have I been in the habit of doing thus to you?" No, Balaam thought. It is then when the Eternal uncovers Balaam's eyes and he sees the angel of the divine before him. The Eternal reveals that if it was not for the animal's ability to see the angel and veer off the path, the angel of the Eternal would have killed Balaam, sparing the donkey. Now, understanding what the donkey had known all along, Balaam again speaks to the Eternal, offering to abandon the king's mission. Verse 35, "But the angel of the Eternal said, 'Go with those envoys, but you must say nothing except what I tell you.'" Okay, so we are only 40 verses into this portion, and we have the Eternal speaking through a donkey. At first, Balaam doesn't see the source before him, but his ass does. What could this mean? This unexpected test on Balaam's journey develops into a parable whose purpose is meant to teach us something. It may be humorous, but is it not, like Jews, to use humor to instill a much deeper truth? Let us look to an interpretation by Rabbi Andy Shapiro Katz. Here, Rabbi suggests that we are not looking at 2 beings, Balaam and his donkey, but one complete being, the intellect, that is Balaam, and the gut, that is his donkey. Similarly to Balaam, there are times when we are able to convince ourselves that we are doing the right thing, that we are on the right path, but our gut may be providing us with different information. Rabbi Shapiro Katz asks us an important question. How far do each of us have to go before we listen to our gut? Before we listen to the part of our character, the ethical part of us that is within our limbs, our legs, even within our ass, he ends. So let us pause and let me take you for a moment to the final 4 verses of our portion. It is here that Aaron's grandson, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, stabs and kills an Israelite man and his companion, thus ending a plague that killed 24,000 people up to that point. How did we get from a talking donkey to this? Let's trek back to uncover where this week's parsha took a drastic turn. So the last time we saw Balaam, he is on his way to meet with King Balak in order to prepare rituals, altars, offerings needed to cast the curse over Israel. We are reminded that Balaam is contracted by the Eternal to speak only when the divine instructs him to. Balaam opens his mouth to curse the Israelite people and speaks only blessings. They regroup, move to a closer point, try again. Balaam's mouth opens and out comes only blessings. Trying a third time, Balaam opens his mouth and what comes out is
Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Israel.
Part of our morning liturgy is taken right from this parsha. The rest of Ma Tovu's text is composed of psalms. As you can imagine, King Balak is fed up with prophet Balaam for not only failing to curse his enemies, the Israelites, but blessing them. Not once, not twice, but 3 prophetic times, in an attempt to recover his reputation as a prophet, as a seer. In chapter 24, verses 14 through 24, he shares his divination or prophecy regarding the future of Israel. Within this prophecy, Balaam reveals to King Balak that the way to defeat the Israelites is through leading them into sin. No curse necessary. Nearing the end of our portion in chapter 25, we finally find ourselves with the Israelites themselves. The parsha reads, while Israel was staying at Shittim, the menfolk profaned themselves by whoring with the Moabite women, who invited the menfolk to the sacrifices for their gods. The menfolk partook of them and worshipped that god, and thus Yisrael attached itself to Baal Peor, and the Eternal was incensed with Israel. It is here where Balaam's suggestion to Balak to infiltrate the integrity of the Israelites takes root. This grew to a point where the leader of one of the Israelite tribes was convinced to allow men to take foreign wives. The Eternal's response is a plague on the Israelite people. As the parsha continues, the Eternal offers Moses a solution. Chapter 25, verse 4 continues, the Eternal One said to Moses, take all the ringleaders and have them publicly impaled before the Eternal, so that the Eternal's wrath may turn away from Israel. So Moses said to Israel's officials, each of you slay those men who attach themselves to Baal Peor. Moses, who himself had married the daughter of Jethro, the Midianite, was seen to some as a hypocrite. However, Moses was sure Zipporah was not an idol worshiper before taking her as his wife. In these unions, on the other hand, the Israelite men were pressured by their companions to worship these idols. Just then, one of the Israelite notables came and brought a Midianite woman over to his companions in the sight of Moses and the whole Israelite community, who were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. When Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, saw this, he left the assembly and, taking a spear in hand, he followed the Israelite notable into the chamber and stabbed both of them. The Israelites notable and the woman, through the belly. Then the plague against the Israelites was checked. As we reflect on where we have come in this portion, it seems like they could be excerpts from two different worlds. Yet, if we look closely, one lesson can be heard as an echo of the first. The source knows, as far as teachings go, repetition never hurts. Balaam, atop his donkey, resisting all the signs of the divine in front of him, bulldozing ahead, risking his life with emotion and anger, can be seen in the arrogant attitude and ego of the Israelite notable in the passage that closes this parsha that I just read, who, when bringing a Midianite woman over to his companions in front of all to witness, was the straw that broke the camel's back, driving Phinehas' reaction that in turn ends the plague. The final line of the portion: those who died of the plague numbered 24,000, is an interesting moment. It is an interesting line to read, to sit with. Last year, this passage felt very differently. At the beginning of last summer, we didn't know what lay ahead for us, not just as a community or a nation, but as a human race. For over a year, many of us have been faced with the challenge of no longer having access to our usual coping mechanisms or indulging in our favorite distractions. Many of us found ourselves coming face to face with our own internal issues, with our own selves. Very similarly to that which Israel faces here. Here and now, Israel is no longer wandering through the desert. We are navigating new, more internal problems that we have never been faced with. As we move into a time of new questions, but so much more light and so much more hope, it is my prayer that we can use the strength that we have gathered as individuals and as a community to face the unknown together as one. Please join me on page 587 for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
591.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We have come to the opportunity for a few announcements. Tomorrow morning, our minyan begins at 10 a.m. Next week, ongoing classes resume as usual for meditation and Torah study, trope class, and conversational Hebrew. Summer Shabbat services join us every Friday in July and August for outdoor services beginning at 6 p.m. Join us for worship at different locations throughout the Hudson Valley. Check your weekly emails or the website calendar for each week's address and details. For anyone not able to join us in person, services will continue to be live streamed. Sisterhood's annual Rosh Hashanah honey sale is here. Send the sweetness of New Year greetings to your family and friends. Information and order forms were mailed. Or see an email link for an order form. Save on shipping and order before July 7th. Please contact Bonnie Lober or the main office for more information. Registration is open for our Zimit Religious School for the 2021-22 school year. CEHV is also excited to welcome Religious School Director Jonathan Billig. Register online or contact the main office. While we plan for the fall and work to reopen the building, we continue to be available by phone and email, so please reach out. Page 595. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do our best homage to the dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one of us is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life, now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone and every life finds purpose. Our hearts are with those in our community who are in their year of mourning. So too do we weave in memory of the loved ones of our community who have died in this season and years past. Our hearts join with yours in remembering David Brenner, remembered by Adele Ryder, Rose Brown, Alfred Dubb, remembered by Marcia Hamburg, Dolly Florence, remembered by Ronnie Friedman, Samuel Goldberg, Anne Horowitz, remembered by Ellen Peruso, Jenny B. Joslovitz, Sandra Kalish, remembered by Deborah Kalish, Rose Kramer, Lena Machenberg, remembered by Ronnie Posner, Samuel Meyer, Ralph Moskowitz, remembered by Richard Moskowitz, Simon Newland, David Bachtel, remembered by Pauline Simon. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Together with them and all of those who have lived their life as a blessing, we say Kaddish for you. It is our tradition to join voices with those who are in mourning, page 591. Yitkadav yitkadash shemei rabba, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen, Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam ul'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Vit hadar, vit hala, vit halal, shmei dekudusha barich hu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Ve'al kol b'nei Adam, v'imru, amen. Before we move to our Kiddush, please join me on page 625, Adon Olam.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem ko yitzir nivra litnasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu hayeh ve'hu hove ve'hu yiyeh b'tifara ve'hu echad ve'in sheni lehamshilo lehachbira ve'li reshit ve'li tachlit ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamishra ve'hu eli ve'chai gali ve'tzur chevli ve'tzara ve'hu nisi u'masnothli minat kosi b'yom ekra biyado afkid ruchi b'heiti shan ve'ayira ve'imruchi geviati Adonai li ve'lo ira.
Please join me on 122 for our Kiddush.
Vayehi erev, vayehi boker, yom hashishi, vayechulu hashamayim ve'aretz v'chol tzva'am, vayechal Elohim vayom hashvi'i mekom melachto asher asa, vayishpot vayom hashvi'i mekom melachto asher asa, vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vaykadesh oto ki lo Shabbat mekom melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot.
L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lecha min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow.